The former president starts a new campaign for his old job, but will his former VP run against him? We'll hear what Mike Pence is telling reporters this week, plus a preview of our interview with the former vice president. Then at the State House, lawmakers on both sides getting ready to work on the new state budget. We'll hear from State Senator Rod Bray and State Senator Fatty Cadora. And we'll talk with Indianapolis Mayor Joe Hogsett and State Rep Robin Shackelford, who's challenging the mayor in the primary. It's all ahead right now on this week's edition of In Focus.
I'm here today to announce the appointment of a special counsel in connection with two ongoing criminal investigations that have received significant public attention. Such an appointment underscores the department's commitment to both independence and accountability in particularly sensitive matters.
The DOJ naming a special counsel to deal with the investigations into former President Trump just days after the former president announced another run for office. All this as the former Vice President Mike Pence and other Republicans called for the party to move on from Donald Trump and consider quote-unquote better choices in the upcoming election. Trevor Shirley has more from Washington on the former president's campaign for 2024.
Well, the announcement was long anticipated since Trump has hinted that he's running again almost since he left office 2 years ago. Inside a ballroom filled with supporters. His announcement came just days after Republicans significantly underperformed in this year's midterm elections, with many of Trump's hand-picked candidates losing their races. Many prominent Republicans have suggested the party would be better off if Trump did not run. Those critics include his former Vice President Mike Pence. Trump focused on many of the same issues he campaigned on in 2016 and 2020, including the economy, border security, and crime.
What we have built together over the past 6 years is the greatest movement in history.
Trump enters the race amid several high-profile investigations into both his business practices and his conduct as president, as well as the prospect of what could be a highly crowded GOP primary field of other Republicans who want to be president. Reporting in Washington, I'm Trevor Shirley.
Okay, Trevor, thank you. Among those other potential candidates, Florida Governor Ron DeSantis and, of course, former Indiana Governor and former President Mike Pence, whose new book came out the same day Trump announced his campaign for president. This week, Pence has had a lot to say about former President Trump and the upcoming election. We'll be sitting down one-on-one with Pence on Monday. This past week, he spoke with a number of national news organizations about the former president and the 2024 campaign.
I think we will have better choices in 2024, and I'm very confident that Republican primary voters will choose wisely.
And again, we'll be talking with the former VP next week as well. This week, we also spoke about Pence's book launch and his future in politics with Politico's Adam Wren.
In conversations that I've had with him, it's very clear to me that he seems like he's running. We know earlier this week he told reporters that he is considering running in 2024. And so I think this book is very much a part of that.
You can see more on our website, and we'll have much more with the former vice president Monday night and right here on In Focus next weekend. All right, so how do other Indiana Republicans like Mike Braun navigate this new divide in the GOP and this question of whether or not to support former President Trump's campaign for 2024? Last week, I sat down with Senator Mike Braun, who's considering a run for governor, and I asked him about Trump's announcement. Do you think that's the right move for him, for your party? Will this be a contested primary? How do you see that playing out?
It'll be interesting to see based upon what happened here in the midterms.
Would you support him if he does?
Yeah, I'm going to look at when he does make the announcement. He came in for me back in 18 4 times. The first time right after the primary concluded 2 days later. And I do think he represented half the country fed up with business as usual in D.C. And I can tell you that needs so much attention. Hard telling when that will occur. So I think it's complicated, and I'm going to be wanting to see who's going to be for something. He does kind of control the dynamic, and we'll see what he does.
Meantime, Braun this week voting against Mitch McConnell in the Senate leadership elections, though McConnell ultimately prevailed. We also learned this week that Congressman Jim Banks would not be moving up in the ranks of Republican leadership in the House. He ran for House Whip, but lost that election this past week to Congressman Tom Emmer. On the other side of the aisle, a generational change in leadership for the Democratic Party this week, with House Speaker Nancy Pelosi announcing that she'd be stepping down from her leadership role in the caucus. This as Republicans officially take back the House. That word came this week as we get a better picture now of the new balance of power in Congress in both chambers. Still waiting on the exact margin, but Republicans are projected to win at least 218 seats in the House for that slim majority in the Senate. In the other chamber, Democrats hold the Senate. They have 50 seats with or without the Georgia runoff next month.